Hi all, I'm Cullen Haynes and welcome to Law Live. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's 3:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time in Sydney and 2:30 where my next guest is broadcasting live in Brisbane. Needs no introduction. 7.5 years in the legal game and is known to many as I actually know him as the Crypto King. I've actually put the title there. And owns and founded Cadena Legal, specializes in tax and crypto law. Would you please make very welcome Mr. Harry Dell? How are you, Harry? What's been happening, sir?
Doing very well, Mr. Haynes. Just slaving away. It's a busy time of year. No doubt everybody says that. Hope you're doing
Of
well.
course. Well, I'm doing well. And based on the success of your business and obviously your followers on TikTok that grow it like 5K every day, it seems. How is everything going in your circle of influence? What's the latest?
The It's a funny time to be any kind of advisor for crypto businesses because it's been a bit of a disaster. 2022, 2023 has been surprisingly uneventful, but of course, economic cycles do what they do. Things go into downturns, but despite that, the firm is busier than ever. It's just a more balanced mix of crypto matters and more normal private client, international, really excellent clients that we're getting. And it's quite funny. You would think that sort of those large businesses would be a bit reluctant of, oh, hey, this fellow's likes to post silly things on TikTok. But in fact, that's actually helped in so many cases. So yeah, we're doing really well, despite the downturn in some of our industries we service.
Very good. And why do you think that is about social media and especially TikTok, that people are looking at it less as a silly platform and a platform where people digest and get their news and get leveled up? It used to be YouTube, but now people are going to TikTok. Why do you think that phenomenon is the case?
Well, it's kind of ingrained in the legal profession where we need to sit at our desk and wear a nice suit and people will walk in the door and pay us for legal services. But that's not the case anymore. And all of our clients figured that out probably 20 years ago. And they started, when Facebook came online, it wasn't that long before the corporates started engaging, the smart ones at least. Now every company's got a Facebook and an X, and a lot even have TikTok accounts. But the funny evolution with a platform like TikTok, if your content sucks, if it's just going to be the same template from Canva that you post like people do on Instagram, no one's going to look at it. And you can't really make standard form video content. Someone has to go through some effort. And that means to get viewers need to actually have some value. So what I do is surprisingly more business-like than most lawyers, but most of the clients I service are businesses. So they see a lot of similarities in it. A lot of them have to invest in social media and they see the value in it and they understand that that's a marketing channel for me and a very successful one. But it does nothing to reduce credibility for a professional. It's actually increasing it because I spend so much time educating. I spend so much time answering questions for free. I'm not trying to send someone a bill for 6 minutes when they ask me a question, which is, easy. I'd rather break down those barriers, get more people knowledgeable on what they may not know they need to know, but when they hear about it, they go, that's important. And it educates them, it gets me clients, and it's awfully fun to do, as you figured out recently.
Of course, I only jumped on the bandwagon, I would say, in the last 6 to 12 months, and it is fun. And I remember someone said to me, Cullen, I would advise against going on TikTok. It will damage your brand and it'll hurt you in the long run. And I just thought that advice was quite strange, given that
Yes.
we're all moving into this social media era and people want information quickly. I've just found, for instance, I used to use Final Cut Pro a lot. I just find the platform of TikTok, and I think I talked about this with James Dapperchi before as well. It's just very easy to make content, share it, create it, get it over to the other platforms, and it takes out half the effort.
Yeah, it's much less effort. You actually focus on the important thing, which is the content. And as long as you can learn to convey the message very quickly, so start conveying it in less than a second. I think I told you that as well. Then
Yes, you did.
people will keep watching. And like James Dapperchi is definitely the father of Australian lawyers going on social media. And I worked with James for a time as well. And I do a lot of work
Yes.
with Jahan Kalanta, who's got many times more followers than I do. But what I find is it's the quality, not putting out a whole bunch of rubbish, putting out stuff that's moderately good. And sometimes you'll hit the perfect mark. I had a video the other day that I actually just reposted. I just pressed a button. It was from last year about superannuation. The first time it ran last year, it got about 5,000 views. That's okay. Next time it ran, it got 150,000 views, and I have no idea why. So it's enough bites at the apple. You catch on to success. But think about how much effort it is to make a YouTube video. You could make 10 TikTok videos in that time, and one of them might be the golden one.
Yeah, it's very true. And you said to me, 3 to 4 a day. That's the goal I should push to.
Yes, it's hard. Even for me, it's hard to have 3 to 4 interesting things to talk about every day. But when you've got a community of people who ask you questions, it's really easy to sort of engage. And the other sort of piece of feedback I think I told you as well, and many others, is don't make it about yourself. I don't say, here's how great I am and I've got all these years experience and I worked at the ATO. Like, people don't want to hear about that. I actually have a psychology degree as well, which I don't think really adds much to my credibility, but I like to read and understand, about the human brain. People are just inherently selfish and they want stuff given to them. They want value, but when you give them value, they give you value back. And that's how the social contract is really important.
Give, then ask. Very, very much Gary Vaynerchuk type model. But I'd love to ask you if you could explain your life using just film titles. How would you do that?
Life in film titles. I would say a few good men, very few good men. That's a good one. I didn't see that question on there. So my family's background is in cinema, and I probably saw every movie between 2000 and 2010 as I was bumming around my family's cinemas in the mid-north coast. But God, it's absolutely escaped me.
No, a few good men. No, it's good. It's good. I like it. And what is it like to be a TikTok savant and celebrity in this day and age?
It's a little bit strange because being on the Z list of celebrities, I don't get invited to cool events or anything just on that basis. But it's happened a couple of times where people have come up to me and they say, "Hey, you're that tax lawyer from TikTok," and I'm like, "Yeah." They're not asking for autographs or anything, but like, I am very low level recognizable. It's happened about 6 or 7 times. And I remember I went to Jahan Kalanta's wedding party in Sydney. This was probably 6 months ago. And Jahan's got 330,000 followers. He's a few letters up in the list of TikTok celebrities, but his cousin really wanted to meet me. Didn't care about Jahan. He wanted to meet me. So that was my proudest one, where they had the big dog right there, but I was the favorite. And but it's a great talking point, even just like at parties with family. It's an interesting thing to do. So like my 19-year-old cousin, he's doing entrepreneurship and he sees what I'm doing in crypto as well as like innovative branding stuff on TikTok, and he thinks it's really cool. So and that makes me feel cool.
No, it's good to be the standard that sets the standard, and to shake up the status quo, which we talked about earlier on in the episode, where you don't have to be that stuffy lawyer in a suit or blouse and just be very professional, because it is in the business lesson I always tell people is it's not who you know, it's who knows you. It's who knows you when they think about what you do. We've all been to the barbecue where someone comes up to you and goes, "Oh yeah, I just got tax law advice," and you're like, why didn't you I do that? Or maybe they didn't. I refinanced my home, and that's not on them. That's on me because I didn't let myself get out there enough for them to know that,
Yeah, I had a really interesting experience. This is the first time I've had sort of that immediate second level referral where a guy got in contact with me, and I think he was a plumber or an electrician, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like might be some work here, I don't know." And he's like, no, I've got to introduce you to one of my very good friends who's just moved over from the UK. He's like global head of FX funds management at this massive bank. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, like, appreciate that. He's a super fan that isn't a client. And that's okay because they're the ones that are marketing with you. When they say, "Oh, old mate's coming, back home from the UK after 20 years, and he's going to set up a an FX crypto real estate investment fund, they go, oh yeah, I know this excellent lawyer, because they feel like they know me. And like when I meet people who've been watching on TikTok and I'm talking to the camera, like just like we're doing now, the user feels like I'm talking with them, and it's a little bit like overwhelming for me sometimes. But it's been the absolute fire under this firm and under my career and my branding, and I can't say that it was intentional. I can't say I knew what I was
Yes.
doing,
Yes.
but here we are.
Well, you're doing it very well. If it sounds like you're winging it, it doesn't come across that way. I know my camera just looks like it's doing that. But
We're
let
all
me ask
winging
you,
it.
no, it's all good. Why crypto and why tax? And people who have been living under a rock who don't know what crypto is, how did you get into it? And why is it your passion now?
So how I got into it, well, very first exposure was when I was working at the tax office. I was doing some complex legal tax stuff for them in 2017, 2018. 2017, we looked
Yes.
at some technical stuff, and I was like, gee, this is really interesting. I really should have bought some back then, or maybe I wouldn't be needing to do this. But then it was sort of early 2020, I believe. This fellow came to me and he said, I've been to 6 or 7 different lawyers, including a whole bunch of tax lawyers. He had quite a significant amount of crypto. We're talking sort of high 7 figures here that he made effectively from nothing. And he said, like, what can we do? And I was really honest with him. I said, mate, I don't know. Like, this is exploratory surgery. We don't know what the result's going to be. I'm happy to take some of the risk on doing that. And we sort of agreed to a fixed fee outcome. And look, I probably lost money on that matter, but I learned an awful lot. Did a whole bunch of structuring. I learned a whole bunch about the assets themselves and the value that they're creating. And it was really from that first guy that I said, well, this is an industry that's clearly underserviced by tax lawyers. There's only a couple of others that I would really sort of say do quite a bit of work in the space, and they know who they are, and maybe they're even watching. So yeah, it was getting those initial clients, which proved not too difficult after I said, yes, I can deal with that. First of all, it's not going to scare me. I don't think you're a criminal or a terrorist because it's crypto. A lot of people still think that, but really it's a whole big accounting ledger that's public. Probably the worst place to launder money or buy illegal things because it's written there permanently. And I sort of kept going deeper and deeper, and it was very fast because there was no one in the way. There was no one on the ladder. I could just keep going up and up and up. And I would say yes to these matters that from a business perspective were quite complicated crypto matters. But from a tax perspective, like the tax law doesn't have special rules for it, which is kind of the problem with it. So it's all the tax knowledge I had just applying to this industry. And this is what I say to a lot of young lawyers. I'm a young lawyer too, I think. But a lot of lawyers who sort of start at they're senior associates and they're trying to pick up work, and they go, I'm a property lawyer. And it's like, okay, but who are your clients? And they go, everybody with a property law issue. You go, no, that's not who you want. You want an industry. You go, I work with, small time developers. And I know it really well. I can do it profitably, and you can dominate like that one little industry. And then once you dominate that one, you dominate the next one. So after crypto, I've got an international tax background. I started focusing more and more on international tax for private clients. And because I already had that base, I was comfortable to do that. And suddenly we're dominating another niche, another niche, employee share schemes, all very specific areas. And that's been the secret sauce to growing really quickly, not just saying I'm a tax lawyer and I'll take on every tax matter. Because when I said that, I only got the dregs. I only got the crappy matters that were, a few $1,000, you're going to lose money on it. And everybody else said no. But if you go, I am the guy for this, then you get a really good response.
Yeah, it's very much that Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich specialized knowledge. If you niche yourself down and you actually know who your client is and you market just to that client and you talk directly to them, then that's your starving crowd, right? That's who you're always going to. The line out the door will always be there. And I think someone said something similar to me. They said, Cullen, what do you need to have a most successful restaurant? And I said, I think I said like a great chef, great lighting, great menu. And he said, nah, you need a starving crowd. You need someone or a group of people that don't have what you do And once you come into the market and offer it, they need it, and they'll always be there for you. And that's what you're doing. You're filling that vacuum of the person who is the crypto and tax lawyer. Like, I haven't needed to use your services yet myself, but I am an advocate of crypto. But the first person I think of is you. Exactly. I should have bought in, when Satoshi Nakamoto first came out with it, but I think I got in 2015, 2016. But nonetheless, the point is, the first person I think about when it comes to crypto tax is your good self. So
and that means I've done something right, which is I'm very lucky that I had people that told me to start on social media and said, don't worry about people's response. I no doubt I've lost clients because they didn't like what I did or how I behaved on social media. Still behave professionally, but it's just a different way than other people. Some people don't like that, but the people who need you will find you with enough time and enough outreach. And the best bit about TikTok marketing is it's free. It's still organic. You can still win by just giving lots of value. And how nice is that?
Add the value. Yeah, and that's what it is. Like many people start with the sales thing first. We've all connected with those people on LinkedIn that as soon as you connect with them, it's like, poof, and it's just and it's like,
Sale,
what are you doing? The block of sale, where you should have led with the value first. And it's such an important lesson that you're giving. What is it about what you do that you love? Whether law or the marketing element, or the specialization, what is it there, Harry?
Look, it's always been for me the law and the advisory work that we do. It's about solving problems.
Yes.
And look, I've got the kind of mind that once I've solved a problem, I don't want to solve it 8 times, 10 times, 20 times. I look for a new one. And if there's one space that's always going to have new problems to solve, it's tax. So I'm very lucky that I just found myself in that specialization as a foundation. Some of the most difficult issues that I've ever seen come up in crypto tax matters and in international tax matters. Like it is a complete schmozzle. You can quote me on that. I hope the Senate estimates is listening and they can say tax laws are complete schmozzle when they quote me.
But, it is a schmozzle. Quote end quote.
Harrison Dell, TikTok guy, and I've actually never had to solve the same problem twice. I have very few repeat matters, and that's what's so exciting about it. Which means that I can't possibly be bored. I can't possibly post. It's all really interesting stuff, which means that it pays well, which is always one good side. But it's just lots of fun.
Good. So have you worked a day in your life yet?
Yeah, a couple of days. Maybe one or two.
That's good. And I would highly recommend. It is currently 3:53 in Sydney Eastern Standard Time. Can you please put all your questions in the comments? We're streaming live to LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and be sure to put them in, and we'll ask this juggernaut. And thank you for anyone tuning in or listening on the podcast later. What are the passion projects you are currently working on right now, Harry?
I suffer from great ideas and limited ability to execute, as so many of us do. I've got a few passion projects. So I've launched alongside a developer who's a very good friend of mine, a smart contract platform that does simple agreements for future tokens, similar to a safe note, investing in equity. Does it all on chain because I see a problem. The problem was we were doing these great blockchain projects. We were literally sending out PDFs for people to wet ink sign. It was bizarre. Like people printed and signed it. And we had this great technology that we weren't using, even though people were investing in the tech. And we thought, well, this is surely an easy value. Built it. It works. We're now marketing the thing. I've got some very specific superannuation focused crypto connected things that I'm doing in my own personal time. What else am I doing? Of course, the passion project being the family. We've just moved up to Queensland, throw off the shackles of Sydney property, and got the kids, got the dogs, get to be home more post COVID, get to focus on that, and that's the true passion project. But also, I can't sit still. So tax pays the bills, but when you go through all these industries, you see problems, and it's like I like to solve them, or I like to tell people that that's a problem they should solve. And some people have even started businesses on that. I won't claim them until
And that's the inspiring thing, right? Like that's the ripples that you're creating, which is incredible. And I love that's another episode in itself. Moving from Sydney to Brizzy, and pushing up the prices in Brisbane. Those Brizzy people don't like us Sydney people. Harry, is it true or
I'm
not?
doing
What
my
do you think?
part. It's funny. Every second person I meet here, they go, "Yeah, I moved up 4 years ago or something, or 5 years ago," and they bought in at 50% the price that we bought in, but what we bought in was still about 30% of what we're expecting to spend in Sydney. Plus, there's lower duty rates here. The only downside is it's a bit too hot, but I'll acclimatize over time.
You'll
Um,
acclimatize, absolutely.
yes,
It's probably
exactly.
not good for
And
your
there's no
crypto,
beach.
your crypto storage to be. Yeah, the beach is good, right? Like, they're absolutely gorgeous. That's where Hawaii gets all its sand from. Is Queensland.
I like that one. I'll use that.
You can't. No, it's a legitimate thing. Honolulu flies in sand from either Brisbane or the Gold Coast. Look it up. Fact check. Please get this
I will.
on Google and TikTok.
I will.
We were talking. Yeah. Well, changing gears a little bit. We were talking before we got on about some of the things that you were indoctrinated at uni, and I'd love to ask you, what would you like to see change in law, in your viewpoint?
So I didn't go to a top tier prestigious university. Sort of my university was good. University of New England, and I did learn a lot in the course. What's quite apparent is, in terms of doing the job, there's not that much difference. It's quite well regulated what you have to learn at law school. You learn it, and then really the important thing is your experience. But the rhetoric from the universities is very much, you want to apply for all these internships that require HD averages, and like that's what's going to make a career, and it puts this absolute fear in these law students. I was immune to it just because I wasn't really paying attention to that. I didn't realize until my final start of my final year, where a friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, you got to be applying for these grad programs," and I'm like, "What, for next year? I've got to do that now." He's like, "Oh yeah." My marks went through crash hot, and the university was like, "Look, you're gonna really struggle. You're gonna have to take an unpaid role." And I thought, "Oh God, I don't really want to do that." And I was very lucky. I applied for so many grad programs, big four firms, big six firms, even though everything I could think of. Only one of them gave me a call back, and that was the ATO. And I was like, "Oh, do I want to do tax? I don't know."
You got the
And
call. You got the call
I
from
got
the
the
tax
call.
man.
I got one interview and I got one offer. That's all you need. And the uh, like government job actually paid better than most law firm roles. And I got to learn that area of specialization from day one in a controlled, managed environment at the biggest tax firm in the country. I actually can't think of a better way to enter into specifically the tax law profession than going through the ATO grad program. The big firms are also excellent, and I didn't experience them, but like the variety of work that I got and the mentorship, because it wasn't about the dollar, obviously. It wasn't about hourly rates. It was about, value for the taxpayer and strategy and interpretation and all sorts of things. And I was very lucky that I got that. But like before that point, the story was that, like, look, your marks aren't very good. You're not going to go very far. Um, Maybe you should, do something law adjacent, not be a lawyer. And frankly, marks at university had nothing to do with how successful and apt you are as a lawyer. And a lot of people I know got excellent marks and then really struggled with burnout. And I think what I
Interesting.
would universities to sort of push towards those students, and the students to understand, is law school is not the main event.
Okay.
Getting a good mark in law school does not set you up for a successful career. Doing what you should reasonably do, so that when you go into the profession, you're not already burnt out. That's what's going to line you up for, 5, 10 years of runway, and you can be a partner before you're 35, and all those great things that are promised to you. But if you burn yourself out, then you're going to last a year and then drop out. And I've just seen it so many times, and it's the wrong focus. We're there to get the ticket to get the job, to actually do the thing that helps people and helps corporates and all of those. So the
Interesting.
priorities need to shift a little bit.
Well, and that's great. I'm endeared by what you're saying there, Harry. And it's very much piggybacking on the last question. What are some lessons you'd like young professionals tuning in, maybe at the start of their career or just about to graduate? What would you like to have been told when you were starting your career?
What I would have liked to have been told is you don't want to get a job in what you're good at uni. So I
Mm.
got like high distinctions for criminal law. The trouble with criminal law is you have to work with criminals, and that didn't really suit me very much.
Crime
But you know
pays.
what? Yeah, yeah, crime pays someone, sometimes not the lawyers. Um, the and I had I had two job offers. Job is probably a stretch. I had the ATO, and then I had an unpaid role in what was it? It was like media law. It was like films and TV and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that sounds sexy. But you got to drill down and go, what is that? Oh, that's commercial law. That's contract law. That's maybe a bit of property. And like looking back, and I go like specialization like tax, which is well regarded, versus it sounds sexy, but it may not be really what you want. Um, I think the advice is that people should not try and orchestrate what their first sort of 5 years in the field are going to be. You've got to take what's sort of there, take interesting
Correct.
opportunities. Because I didn't even study tax before I got a job at the ATO, and here I am. I think I'm all right.
So don't do what you were good at in uni and take interesting opportunities. And I think that's a nice point to end those lessons. And our final question before we get into bonus questions, Harry, 25 minutes has gone pretty quickly. How would you like to be remembered?
I like to be remembered by groups differently. So by clients, I want to be remembered as someone that solved their problem, someone that listened to them, gave them solutions to what they wanted, not saying, here's what you should do, solve it my way. I'll solve it their way if I can. But I want to be remembered by colleagues as someone that did things a little bit differently, usually with a good result, always with a view to do the right thing. That's that's it, I think.
Very nice. Well said. And where can people find you, Harry? Where are you hanging out, my friend?
I think it's hard not to find me, no matter where you look. I'm like a weed, uh,
Omnipresent.
omnipresent. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I think it even. I'm on Reels there. You can Google search me. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's hard to avoid me, unfortunately.
And what I found out, which is quite funny, is I kept on getting connected by other Harry Dells on TikTok that had
Oh
more
yeah.
followers than me, but they are copycats of you using the same content. You've got more followers with your fake TikTok accounts than I do. I just thought that was so funny. So be careful. If it's not
Oh yeah.
45,000 followers, don't trust Harry Dell at TikTok who asked you to invest in Bitcoin.
Yes, it's actually a huge problem. I don't know why I'm not verified. I applied for verification and it got immediately declined. So I've clearly upset the TikTok overlords.
Nonetheless, really appreciate you coming on, mate. I've been looking forward to this interview, and we'll bring you back for some bonus questions very shortly, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Cullen.
Legend. And if you are a legend of law or know someone who is and you'd like to be on the Law Live, we come out Wednesdays, every Wednesday. So please get in contact, and we stream live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and we'll upload this to wherever you get your podcast. Bye for now, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Bringing you back, Harry, the first bonus question is, if you could explain your role in law to a 6-year-old child, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I'm well practiced explaining it to my 7-year-old. So we'll go for a similar one. Is people have to pay money to the government so that the government can spend it on roads, hospitals, schools, all sorts of things. And what I do is help the government and people make sure that the right people are paying the right amount. Because you don't want the person with $100 to their name paying $90, but someone with $1 million paying not much. They got to pay the right amount according to what the law says. And I said to him, some people say that we act against the government, but really the government can change the law whenever they want. If they change the law to be something else, that's what we're going to help our clients to do. So it's all in the government's power. We just help people follow the rules.
I love that. Help people follow the rules. Very easy to understand. If I was a child, I'll be explaining it to Benji when he gets to that age. And if you could give yourself advice at any age, go back in time, get in that DeLorean, kick it to 88. What advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time? And what age would you be when you give it?
I I would probably give myself some advice at 18 that you've only done 20 to 25% of life. You've got a lot more ahead. What's in front of you right now isn't that important, because at that age, it's still formative. But like, I didn't think I'm going to be a tax lawyer. I was working part time at a cinema, and yeah, I wasn't too focused on the future. But if I instead looked to the future, I think I would have had very different motivations, and who knows what I would have been doing. Maybe something as cool as this.
I bet you'd be very impressed if you showed yourself where you are now, and you probably get the question, "What's TikTok?" So there you go. Really, really appreciate the chat today, my friend, and looking forward to seeing your next 3 or 4 videos when I log off this. Thanks so much,
Oh
buddy.
yeah, thanks, Colin. See ya.